So we're going for this. Part of the reason for the big hold up is I wanted to make sure we got the full intro sequence on stream. So I wanted to make sure I had this set up in a way that I could just trigger it as soon as we was ready. So let's make a start, I guess. Oh, my phone's going off. Oh crap. There we go. I still had the audio muted. That's stupid. Oh well.
Crash Bandicoot 4!
Press start to begin.
There is a demo for Spyro 1 hidden on this disc if you put in a code on the title screen. So following straight on from the events of Crash 2, that was the Cortex Vortex that we shot down after collecting all the gems. Which, if you didn't collect all the gems, you have no idea why that thing fell out of the fucking sky.
Uka is free. No, it cannot be. Evil, great evil has come.
Yeah, so this is slightly weird. They decided that Aku now need to have speaking lines, whereas Coco no longer speaks in this game.
Even once, but you, Cortex, you have failed me twice.
Great Uka, it was that infernal Bandicoot.
From deep inside my temple prison, I sent you simple instructions to follow. But you lost the gems, you lost the crystals, and I have lost my patience. There is now no other power source left on this planet.
I know we've had a few unfortunate setbacks.
And failed. But since your bumbling has managed to set me free, I am feeling generous. There is still a way for us to amass the power needed to enslave this miserable planet. And this time the great Uka will make sure that you do it right.
After many eons, my evil twin, Uka, has been freed from his underground prison. Long ago, I locked him there to protect the world from his malice. Now, free once again, he must be stopped. Children, Uka and Cortex plan to use this time-twisting machine to gather crystals that lay scattered across time. I have brought you here to recover the crystals before they do so. To open the time portal, simply stand on a button and then jump into the portal. Good luck.
The one thing I do want to mention, I don't think this version of the game makes it especially clear, but from the way they rendered this warp room in the Reignited trilogy, the Insane trilogy, it makes out that this warp room is actually atop Cortex Castle again. Which again, I never got that from the way it's presented in this game. I just thought it was some weird abstract place, but I guess that's the case. So the warp room mechanic from Crash 2 is back, where you get levels in batch of 5, and each batch of 5 can be completed in any order. Rather than having them be all distinct rooms, they're just distinct branches off here, so there's no like loading zones between them or anything. You just stand on the button for the level you want to play, the portal opens up and you go in.
Crash, crash, crash. Why must you always muck in my mud? Oh, look, I have a mask helping me, too. We will find out which one is more powerful soon enough.
These interstitial screens take the place of the hologram messages you got in Crash 2. So the first level in the game is pretty straightforward. First change you'll see is that these bouncy boxes now give you 2 fruit per bounce rather than 1, so they end up breaking about half the time. Which in Insane Trilogy they made that change apply to all 3 games. So that white box there cycles through what it'll give you when you break it. The cycling of its contents accelerates the longer you leave it, and if you leave it too long, it eventually goes into a metal box and it's impossible to break. Oh, another addition in Crash 3 is you can now actually see the total number of boxes as well as the number you've collected in the status bar. So, in Crash 2, the level themings were obviously relevant, but ultimately were kind of more stylistic than actually meaningful. In Crash 3, the level themings are quite relevant to what each level entails. The medieval levels are all entirely straightforward, single route, straight down the line. Pretty much the most basic Crash style levels you can get, behind the back. Bonus stages work as ever. Deaths taken in bonus stages don't cost you lives. So for visiting the levels in order, we encounter what I would deem to be the first of the gimmick levels in the game. So in Crash 2, gimmick levels were not that common. You just really had the polar bear levels, and that was it. Pretty much every level, besides that and the jet ski sections, adhered to the standard control scheme of the game. In Crash 3, I don't know for what reason, whether it was they felt they needed more creative variation or what, but there are far more levels that, like this one, change up the control scheme completely. So these underwater levels, of which there are only 2, are entirely side-scrolling. Your D-pad moves you in all 4 directions relative to space, so up to swim upwards, down to swim downwards, etc., the way you'd expect. The X button, which is typically used for jumping, is used to do a little kick, which gives you a slight burst of acceleration. And both of your spin and crouch buttons just do a spin, which also carries a bit of forward momentum to it. So you get these little underwater jet ski things. You can shoot torpedoes, and you can also do a dash move with them. So for speed of getting to the level, you kind of want to dash continuously, but it's risky. The jet ski acts as a single point of damage, but as you saw, it can also be used to break these corals, which sometimes hide boxes that you otherwise can't get. So, if you take damage before you manage to break those corals, the boxes that they're obscuring are no longer accessible, and they are lost to you and you're unable to kill Jen. The jet ski cannot be carried throughout the whole level necessarily. It's limited. These structures, like, they feel like the fucking Gungan City stuff from Phantom Menace. Those particular, you know, structures there. But this game came out a year before Phantom Menace, I'm pretty sure. It's also impossible to get 3 masks in these underwater levels, so they didn't program the ability for you to turn invincible while underwater. So, eventually what happens is, if the game detects that you have 2 masks, any box that would ordinarily be a mask crate no longer appears. Given that the gimmick of this game is that you're time travelling to collect all this stuff, I'm not quite sure what these underwater levels are meant to represent either. But you see some weird city in the background, but there's no context for what that is. Sorry, just having a drink. Okay, and this is the first level with a playable Coco. This was like a big deal when this game came out, but in reality, every level where you play as Coco is a gimmick level. There's no platforming level. You do get a short platforming section here, but you can see the Coco moves relatively slowly. You can jump, but she has no other moves. You can't crouch, you can't spin. Again, that's something they changed in the Insane Trilogy. And this is the equivalent of the polar bear levels from Crash 2 and the ball levels from Crash 1. So while you're on the tiger, you can dash. Dashing obviously increases your speed and lets you run straight through certain obstacles. Taking this relatively slow. We'll see a fast run of this later on. Oh, I missed the box. I missed that box. Oh, come on. Yeah, so those guys with the boards, if you come into contact with them, they spring you up to the upper section. There are 2 of these styles of levels, and both of them, whether you want to go up or down, alternates. I always forget which one's first in both of them, whether that's the same both times, but... By which I mean the side of it that has boxes alternates. So in this one we wanted the lower section and the upper section and the lower section again. So this is the second of the traditional levels.
Uka and Cortex want Tiny get crystals and bring them to big Colosseum in Rome. Crash, leave them for Tiny, or Crash get crushed.
So this is something they do now. They actually integrate these fleeing from behind you sections more into regular levels. They did this a little bit in the Polar Bear levels in Crash 2, but it was more that they had regular platforming sections in the fleeing levels rather than being levels in regular platforming sections. I don't mind being so strict when getting all boxes, because in reality you will break them all for me if I miss some. So, missing red gem platform. So this is one thing that is different about Crash 3 compared to Crash 2. In Crash 3, I'm pretty sure you can have collected every single coloured gem before